Beautiful people, my name is Amanda Zitto. If you are new here, I make motorcycle travel vlogs, how-tos, and general encouragement for you to get out and do the thing. Today, it's Orygun Run time. It's day one of the Orygun Run. If you don't know what that is, it's a grassroots motorcycle campout ride in Oregon. It's my first time at the run, so it should be an excellent time. I also have new toys to show you on the run, but here we go.
Isn't this a good life? Sitting on the front porch, sipping on the rocks, citrus in our beverages, citrus in our beverages. Shown live the good sides. Always pretty smiles are covering our faces. You know it is all lies. You know it is all lies. On and on it goes, round and round the rodeo. Breathing out air for a minute, taking my time to begin with. On and on it goes, swinging down in life, you know. Breathing out air for a minute, yeah.
We stopped for a break, and somehow I have been volunteered to look at everybody. How does this keep happening? I don't know.
What if we stay right here, make everything disappear? Lay low in the beaches, sun, put your rose-colored glasses on. Yeah, put your rose-colored glasses on. Yeah. Isn't it a big crime to get a little lost in everybody's business? Why don't we all calm down? Why don't we all calm down? I think I'm the wrong size. Not enough room for everybody's egos. Why don't we all calm down? Why don't we all calm down? On and on it goes, round and round the rodeo. Breathing out air for a minute, taking my time to begin with. On and on it goes, swinging down in life, you know. Breathing out air for a minute, yeah. Hey, would you rather stay right here? Make everything disappear. Keep playing my favorite song. Put your rose-colored glasses on. What if we stay right here? Make everything disappear. Lay low in the beaches, sun. Put your rose-colored glasses on.
Made it to camp. It was an awesome ride today. I got to accidentally lead a group ride. Didn't mean to do that, but I don't know how it happens, but I just kind of end up being the leader for some reason. I think it's because I'm so obsessive about my maps. If you haven't tried OneX2 Road yet, just saying. There's a link down in the description. Anyway, got to camp. I have a new pillow. It is the Nemo Philo, the luxury or the elite one. And the pocket is attached to the pillow, so you can't lose it. I'm very excited. The fabric on the outside is like t-shirt soft. I'm stoked. Wow, it's quite big compared to some other pillows that I've had. Always talking to a camera, you know.
Let's stay up all night, give our hearts a new beginning. When we fell in love, every second, every minute, we were high on life. Didn't waste our time, didn't sleep as much as now.
Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to day 2 of Orygun Run. It got pretty darn chilly last night, so I'm interested to talk to some of my friends and see how they survived. I was very grateful to have the 0-degree bag, size and all. It still took me a while to warm up last night because I got kind of chilled hanging out with everybody under the canopy and my legs were frozen. That took a while to warm back up, but I was very grateful to have my 0-degree bag and heated gear and all of the layers. That definitely saved my butt. I can't even remember where I left off yesterday, but our ride south from Detroit and over Santiam Pass was beautiful, but very, very smoky. And then we made it here to camp here in LaPine and partied. And I learned that there's a game called Stump, where you flip a hammer and try to hammer it. At least I think that's the gist of the game. Today we are heading to Condon through Mitchell. As you probably know, I went to that area in May this year on my tour of Oregon. Yep.
Yes, hot water.
Yes, hot water. Wonderful. Thank you. I guess that's my clue to actually get up. I have a chair. Did I set it up? No, I did not. Hey!
What are you planning on doing today?
I don't know. What do you plan on doing today? Obligatory Spoken stop. It's like required if you go through Bend.
So I can take a picture of you.
Bottle.
Let's stay up all night, give our hearts a new beginning. When we fell in love, every second, every minute, we were high on life. Didn't waste our time, didn't sleep as much as now. Let's stay up all night.
We have made it to Prineville Reservoir on day 2 of the Orygun Run. Woo! And I just want to take a moment and tell you guys about the Insta360 OneX2, which Insta360 was kind enough to send to me to play around with, to talk to you guys about it. Full disclosure, they are not paying me to say anything specific. They did send me the camera for free, but they did not tell me to do anything but share my honest opinion, and that is what I'm doing. Nobody has to review this footage afterwards. Cool, cool, cool. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been a huge fan of 360 cameras and footage as a viewer since they've become more accessible in the last few years. My biggest pet peeves is when it's painfully obvious what you're shooting on. And all of the funky things that you can do with a 360 camera that you can only do with a 360 camera totally pulls me out of the story, and all I can think about is that. But the same goes for people who make it painfully obvious that they're shooting on a drone. That drone should be a tool to capture footage, to get a different perspective. It should not be the main focus, especially when the story is about your ride and like the places that you're going. I'm not really interested in being focused on the drone on the ground and taking off from pavement. Not gonna lie. I don't know, maybe I'm nitpicky. What I do think 360 cameras are good at when done correctly is making it look like somebody else is filming you. Especially the Insta360, which is excellent at getting rid of the selfie stick or like whatever you're mounting it on, as long as it's within the stitch line. So it just looks like it's a camera floating in space recording you. And also the horizon leveling is so good. I don't have to correct the horizon line in post. And also, if you ever come home from a trip and realize that your action camera was pointed down at the handlebars the whole time and it's totally not recoverable, that is not a problem with the Insta360 because you can reframe it wherever you want it to be. It's also getting the same footage that I would be getting from my helmet camera and my handlebar camera at the same time, essentially replacing 2 action cameras. It's also a really excellent tool to reframe footage for Instagram stories and YouTube because you're not having to crop into a regular horizontal 9x16 because all of that information is there. So you're actually adding information, not cutting it away, which so good. But I've been blabbering for a while and there are other people waiting on me, so we should hit the road.
Look to the left, look to the right. Nothing can stop me in the night, like I am leaving all the bad stuff and trying to remain so strong. I know it's good if I'm alone. I got it, I gotta go, 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 running to better times. Go, 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 from my emotions I'll go, 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 running to better times, to better times, to better times, to better times, to better times.
We stopped and had some wonderful food in Mitchell, one of my favorite towns. If you did not know that there's a motorcycle hostel in Mitchell, it's pretty awesome. They normally serve bicyclists, but one of the gentlemen who runs the hostel writes articles for motorcycle magazines, and he is a rider himself. So I try to tell people about it because it was super awesome. It was a great experience when I stayed there. Anyway, sidetracked. Paint Hills. I have had my eye on the Insta360 cameras for a while because I'm a bit of a gear nerd. And I did see in other people's reviews of the OneX2 in comparison to the first generation of the OneX, they did improve a lot of the hardware on this one. Like the thread mount and this kind of stuff is a lot beefier than the old one. And the battery is much bigger. So I'm pretty happy that this is my first introduction to a 360 camera. You're fine. You were absolutely fine.
I thought you were setting up for us, so.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Movie stars coming right
Just
at the end,
for
do our
me,
thing.
yes. I was anticipating your arrival. One of those upgrades is that it is now waterproof up to 10 meters. I'll put feet on the screen, but mostly it means for us motorcyclists that when it starts raining, you do not have to worry about this camera being out recording and having to put it away. The Insta360 does take a bit more work in the edit. That is for sure. It is not a plug and play situation. You have to frame every single shot, so it does take more time. But if you have experienced a lot of frustration about your shots not exactly being the best out of camera from your helmet or from a handlebar view or any of those things, then this might be a good investment for you because it already level horizons like I talked about already, and then being able to reframe those shots in post and making sure that you got the shot that you wanted and not what you thought that you got and didn't get. Insta360 does make motorcycle bundles, which comes with a bunch of different mounting hardware to mount this camera pretty much anywhere you would want to on your bike, including a clamp and then all kinds of stickies and screws and all of the good things. I especially love the clamp included in the motorcycle kit, but it's essentially the same thing as like a ram clamp if you already have one of those. The ball on the clamp that comes in the motorcycle bundle is the same size ball that would work with any of your other ram mounts. So if you already have a ram clamp, then cool, you may not need to invest in the motorcycle bundle. You do not need a massive desktop to edit 360 footage. You can edit this footage on your phone as long as you have a fairly good smartphone. The app is pretty good in my opinion. I have not had any issues connecting the Insta360 to my phone at all. I've been playing around with it for like a month now. In my experience, it has performed the same across the board, which is fantastic in an app. That's how you want it to behave.
Look to the left, look to the right. Nothing can stop me in the night, like I am leaving all the bad stuff and trying to remain so strong. I know it's good if I move on. I got it, I gotta go, 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 running to better times. Go, 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 from my emotions I'll go, 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 running to better times, to better times.
We have arrived at campsite number 2 outside of Condon in the middle of nowhere. Good morning. I love that section of road. It's so cool. We had some awesome brunch in Fossil, which was just lovely. Packed up and got moving, and we're just out of Spray now. I love the road going into Spray. It's so good. Anyway, if you are somebody who does not enjoy editing, or if you make videos purely as a means to an end, or if you're somebody who does not enjoy coming up with new ways to use your camera, this is probably not the camera for you. But if you're somebody who enjoys playing around with new toys, learning new things, and is looking for something to mix up your process, if you found yourself kind of in a rut creatively, this tool is either going to frustrate you until you can figure it out, or it's going to make creating videos fun and interesting again. I will say it is not always the easiest to use if you're in a hurry. The startup time when you push the button to start recording from dead power to off is a longer gap than on the Osmo Action or the GoPro Hero 7. But it does have the ability to push one button, it'll power up and start recording, and you push the button again and it stops recording and shuts down by itself. You do not have to push the power button and push the record button. I saw a couple other reviews that said that it doesn't do that, but in my experience it does. So maybe it was a software update, I don't know. But it does do that, which I'm very relieved to know, because it makes using it on the go a lot easier than having to make sure that I make a stop in order to turn this camera on. Okay, let's talk tech specs for a second. 5.7K might sound amazing, but we're talking about the resolution of both cameras, not just one. So once you're reframed and you're only looking at like a 150-degree angle from one lens, or maybe two lenses with a stitch in the middle, you're still talking about 1080p, 2K resolution to be generous, which isn't a big deal if you're just making YouTube videos, totally fine. But if you're looking at like a more professional camera, maybe look at the more professional 360 cameras, not this one. This one is very much a entry-level 360 camera in my opinion. I think it's a really fun tool to use. The resolution is absolutely fine for Instagram stories and YouTube, but if you're trying to make like something more professional looking, maybe a different 360 camera. One of the other things is that the pitfalls of pretty much every 360 camera that I've seen so far is that both lenses are very exposed. But that's also what makes it possible for that stitch line to be as small as possible. But since those lenses are so exposed, you can't lay this camera down without potentially scratching a lens, which is why it's so important to keep the lens cover on it unless you are recording. One of the other things that we need to consider as motorcyclists is to be cautious of where you're mounting this on the bike. One of the fun things about this camera is to being able to come up with weird places to mount it on a long arm to stick it out from the bike, but you need to be aware of what it might rub against, like bushes, or if you go around a corner and you tilt the bike a little bit lower than you thought you would, and you might shear off a lens or do some damage to the camera. So just being aware of that when you're mounting the camera to the bike is a good idea. One of those other universal things about 360 cameras is that if you have a clear subject in mind when you mount this camera, say yourself on the bike, you want to make sure that there is a whole lens facing directly at you and making sure that there isn't going to be a stitch line awkwardly in the middle of your subject. Whether that's you, a bike, another rider, the landscape, those kinds of things. Especially a person, that stitch line is very obvious, especially if it's closer to the lens rather than far away. You can shoot in both 360 all the way around, or you can narrow it to just a 150-degree view, and that will export as a regular MP4 file you don't have to fuss around with or reframe or anything. But I would say that the stabilization of this camera and the Osmo Action and the GoPro Hero 7 and the newer GoPros are pretty on the same level, in my opinion. The audio is not good, but I also wouldn't claim that the audio straight out of any other action camera is good either without mounting an external microphone. There is a microphone adapter for this that is about the same size as the microphone adapter for my Osmo Action, which, by the way, I will say is at minimum half the size of the GoPro microphone adapter, which is just obnoxious with all these extra cords. That is very nice. And I will link a video down in the description of another gentleman who made like a wireless rig with a microphone adapter with this camera. I personally have been a long-time user of external microphones on all of my cameras, and I really think that you should be too. I think it's time to hit the road again. Found myself a nice shady spot to lay down for a minute. Realistically, will this be replacing any of my A-roll cameras, like the A7R2 or my A5100? No. It's just not an A-roll camera in my opinion. It's great in addition to a better A-roll camera. It being a wide-angle lens lends it really well to action situations, but for A-roll, in my opinion, you really want a camera and interchangeable lenses so you can really capture depth of field and actually portray atmosphere. However, I do think that this could be a very powerful tool as a B-roll camera to switch up your footage. If you don't already have, say, a second action camera for like your handlebars, say you already have one for your helmet but you don't have a second one, I would recommend it for that totally. Even potentially to replace both action cameras. That's a little bit of a stretch because it's hard for me to relinquish control and having multiple options of angles, but I think it could replace two action cameras, handlebar and helmet. Unless you are somebody who relies on your helmet camera for in-helmet audio, although I still think that you could get away with having a separate audio recorder, recording your audio in helmet that way, and then syncing it up to the footage afterwards. If you haven't watched any of Stacy Wilt's videos over on the Ride to Food channel, highly encourage you to go check that out. She is somebody I think who uses the 360 cameras the most in her videos, and I think she does it very well. So definitely go give her channel a look-see and maybe get some inspiration. The app does work pretty well for short form, like if you're just gonna cut like some stuff for Instagram stories, that's totally fine. I have found that like if you just go into the regular camera and edit, that works fine for me. It does add the Insta360 logo and I haven't figured out how to take it off. I know people said that if you edit in the stories part or the create a stories part of the app, it wouldn't add the logo, or you would have an option to remove the logo. But when I try to use that part of the app, it crashes on me, which may have more to do with my phone than the app itself. But your mileage may vary. But again, I've never had any issues with the camera syncing with the app. It has hit the nail on the head every single time that I have done it. I haven't had to go in and fiddle with Wi-Fi settings or anything like that. After the initial connection, I have had zero issues connecting the camera to the app on my phone. I did download the desktop version of the editing software and I have edited in that, and that's pretty intuitive. There's also a plugin for Premiere so you can edit the 360 footage in Premiere. You don't have to download the separate Insta360 app on your desktop to edit the footage, which I found very awesome. There are options. You do have to download the Premiere plugin from the Insta360 website and a separate GoPro 360 plugin for Premiere Pro in order to edit the 360 footage in Premiere. But after I got all that stuff done and installed, it's worked fine for me. Again, it's 360 footage, so there is going to be an extra step in the editing process because you do have to reframe your footage. But, I don't know, for right now, it seems pretty worth it to, always know that I'm going to be able to reframe the shot, make sure that the horizon is level, and know that I'm not accidentally pointing my camera straight down at my handlebars and there's nothing that I can do about that in post. That alone is worth the extra 20 minutes or so that it takes me to edit the Insta360 clips individually before I dump them in the rest of the timeline. For transparency, Insta360 did send me this camera for free. They did not ask me to say anything specifically. They are not paying me cash money for this review or the video in general. However, I do have an affiliate link down in the description. If you decide that this is a camera that you think would fit well into your kit, you can purchase it through my link at no extra cost to you, and I get a little bit of kickback. If you do not have a solid A-roll camera yet, I would encourage you to get a mirrorless DSLR or some kind of DSLR as your A-roll camera before purchasing something like this. However, I can't speak to your personal style of video making, so I do encourage you to watch a ton of more reviews and make a decision for yourself. Whew. And with that out of the way, it is the last day of Orygun Run, and I've got about 80 miles between me and the last camp. Kind of wild. It has been a very fun couple of days and a very exhausting couple of days.
You know I'm dreaming about us two, playing around without a clue. On the edge, leaning out. With us it's all or nothing. Oh, but guess I need more of you. With us it's all or nothing, but guess I need more of you. With us it's all or nothing. Oh, but guess I need more of you. With us it's all or nothing, but guess I need more of you.
And that is a wrap. The end of the Orygun Run. All that's left to do now is go home. Whew. Home safe and sound again. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button if you did. If you would like to support the channel and get early access to videos like these ad-free before the rest of the world, you can do that over on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. If that's not up your alley, that is totally okay. I appreciate you guys just for being here every single week. I do have I do have stickers, t-shirts, and prints over in my Etsy shop. If that interests you at all, I do have keychains currently, which is maybe up your alley, who knows. If you cannot support me monetarily right now, that is absolutely okay. I appreciate you guys just for being here every single week. In the meantime, guys, question for the end screen crew. Have you ever taken a nap at a park before? If you haven't, it's glorious. Highly recommended. I'll see you guys later. I very rarely have somebody behind the camera. This is very strange for me.
Do you want me to get out of it?
No, you're fine. Oh my god.
You can always use Sherry's footage. She's been filming you this whole time. At a slightly different angle. It's so meta.
The life of a YouTuber.
Influencer.